To today's live. My name's Fola, and this is the Mystic Hotline Q&A. So we're gonna get into some of your questions around intuition, boundaries, energy sensitivity, whatever might be showing up. So you can let me know your questions in the comments. And to start us off, let's just cleanse with some plant medicine, some smoke, that we may all see clearly, that we may awaken that inner knowing of the womb. Ooh, my sage must be so dry lately, or I don't know what it is, but whenever I'm lighting it live, it just goes. So just recognizing you can place whatever is maybe showing up for you right now this week, anything around intuition, any questions you might be holding. Just inviting you to, offer that up here with the smoke. Thank you. Thank you, Sage. So, welcome everyone. Hi, Tahira. Hi, Meredith. Nice to see you both. If you have questions, I didn't actually put this out earlier in the week. I just kind of was like, let's just see what happens as we go with the flow. But any questions about energy sensitivity, boundaries, intuition, I'm going to do my best to answer those. I have some questions I wanted to get through, and I actually have a lot of stuff I wrote down. I'm like, oh, how is this going to happen? We have until the top of the hour. But really, this is a chance for us to get together, and whatever questions, queries, insights you might have, that this will be a chance for those of you watching to just kind of like bounce those questions off, and I'll share based on my personal experience, my knowledge, and whatever shows up intuitively. So we'll just see where this goes. I have a card or some cards here. I wanted to pull one of each of these just to kind of start. So I wasn't going to do any personal card pulls today. Let's just see kind of where the cards want to take us as we enter into this Q&A together. So we have the Ace of Cups in the north. Never pulled this card from this deck. This energy of the Holy Grail, the chalice, which really, to me, when I think of intuition, based on the shamanic teachings I've received, it's not from the third eye, as many different cultures or systems might speak. Yes, we get vision. Vision is a thing, for sure. The divine vision, the like long-term vision. But there's something deeper, and it's this womb, the Holy Grail, the place of your center, where things can really be, it's like a body knowing, okay? It's inside, just beneath the belly button. This is that Holy Grail. It's like you trusting your internal power, that gift or ability, because it's not really, a gift is like something, it's like, oh, you've been given because of something. It's like, no, you have these abilities, these psychic abilities, these intuitive abilities, okay? So, awakening this womb today as we go through this time together. Let's pull one of these cards. Woo! And see what it says around this Q&A. Boundaries. So I guess, and it was funny because when I was making the title for this, I guess, gathering, a huge part was like, I was thinking, okay, intuition, da 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 da, but boundaries was the word that was coming through. So that's fascinating. We're going to talk a bit more about it, maybe answer questions you might have about some of the things I've recommended around different magical practices that incorporate creating energetic or physical boundaries. But for many of you, this might be the main theme, the main thing that needs to be heard, because if you're here just right off the bat, like you are intuitive, I would believe that. If you're here, you've aligned with the frequency, you resonate in a world of high vibration as well, okay? And so with that being said, like all of us, I guess, everyone else, there's a need for increasing your ability to create boundaries and to create this internal like toric energy, this source energy inside this battery, to really tap into it. It's fascinating. It's almost in that womb space for this in here. Heart and crown. There's like these 3 points. We've talked about this before. So wherever you are, wherever you've been in the past with your boundary setting, this is like the clean slate. Don't be hard on yourself, please. Like, this is part of the learning, okay? So, oh, I'm seeing questions come in. Sweet. Okay. Hi, Delilah. Hi, Golden Lily. Hello, hello. Nice to have you here. Tahira's question first off. How do you learn to trust your intuition? What practices do you recommend to strengthen intuition? And what's the difference between intuition, fear, or anxiety? Ooh, okay. Okay. I'm going to open up my little other page here to make sure that I am like keeping on track with my notes and see where these questions kind of cross-reference. So thanks for those questions, Tira. How do you learn to trust your intuition? How do you learn to trust like anything about your life path? What is intuition even? Intuition is this like inner knowing. Tuition, like, you know, like you go to university, you go to learn something. It's this internal knowing that comes from something beyond maybe what these physical senses, your taste, touch, hear, smell, whatever can kind of, I guess, be leading you in this world. Okay. And how do we learn to trust it? And I guess we could like throw it back to our time as children, youth, where, you know, you're eating your food and you're like feeling full, like you're getting this internal communication from your body of like, you're done. But, you know, maybe your parents were like, most parents at the time, it's like, oh, you don't waste food, eat it. It's like, well, I'm full, right? Like we're kind of like shown and taught as we go through life. And unfortunately, at this point, I think many of us in like what millennial, Gen Z generation, to not listen to intuition, to not trust the internal guidance system that is directing you on a path. But what happens with intuition is, especially as you develop on your like spiritual path, as you awaken to your spiritual path, you become more conscious, more aware, meaning you are recognizing the signs or the ways in which your body, in which spirit communicates with you. As you continue to develop that, you start to realize like, oh, like this body, this system that I want to say own, that I'm operating at this point in time, it is showing me and leading me through messages, through sensations, whatever that might look like for you, because this is where it gets unique for each individual. Some people hear messages, right? Some people see things. Some people just get a sense of knowing, like a feeling in their body. Some people might smell things. Like there's so many infinite ways, really. And it's about you developing what your way is. Some things I would say around trusting the intuition, and they would say like you can make tests of what your intuition or how your intuition communicates to you. Like maybe you've heard of that example of like the pink elephant kind of like idea. I guess this is around like synchronicity too, but it's like showing if you were to create something or speak like, hey, I want to see something happen in my reality. Now let it go out. When you speak like, I want to see, like a pink elephant, or I want to see an example of whatever, like a word, like some random word that maybe is not commonly used. And then let it go, let that go. And then trust as you go on your path that spirit's going to show you that thing that you've asked for. I think these are ways to build that trust in like the universe and how it kind of like ask and receive, or a callback response to the things that are going on internally for us as individuals. So that's just an example of a way to like, I guess, strengthen the intuitive muscle around like trusting. And when it comes to trusting, say when you're in a situation and maybe you're kind of like, okay, I need to make this really important decision, or there's someone here and I'm not really sure what I feel. The invitation for you to pause in the moment and know that, like, especially when you're having to make a decision, there is no immediacy. This might tie into that question you have about the fear or anxiety, Tahira, about like what's the difference between intuition and fear and anxiety is when there's like this sense of like urgent, I have to respond now, or like there's this like quickening, like, and it feels like emotionally charged. To me, that's a sign it's most likely not intuition. And that's especially a sign that I have to recognize, okay, I'm responding here out of a fear or an anxiety, whatever it might be. You know, oftentimes it can be like a fear of missing out or a fear of like losing something or whatever the case might be. There's like this other charge. Whereas when we come from this place of like centered intuition, this womb space, this center of gravity. Okay, when I was learning about this point, from my shamanic teacher, a technique they would have is like we'd stand and she'd be like, okay, like think about something. And then she'd get us to like each other to push someone, right? So someone would be standing and then they'd get pushed, usually with their eyes closed. And what would happen is the person would like fumble forward or back, right? But as soon as she said, okay, now bring your energy and awareness down into that womb space, down into that center of gravity just beneath the belly button. And then she would get us to try and push each other or like move the body. The person would be so firm. Like there was no like, oh, I'm going to fall forward or backwards. It was just this stability, anchoredness. So to me, this place of anchoredness in any point in which we need to make a decision, at any point we are maybe trying to determine what a scenario is and if it's in our best interest or not, to go with that. And you might be like thinking or wondering, like, okay, so I do that and I was in a situation and like I got that grounded like sense of, okay, this is like secure. Like I knew my intuition was on, so to speak, but the result was still like shitty. And that, I think we're going to cover into that. That's definitely around like the healing aspect and empowerment. And I think this is because, again, with intuition, with anything, a spiritual gift or ability or whatever you want to call it, we are learning to develop it. We are starting at infancy. We have our physical birth as like a baby coming into this world, and we go through a physical development from baby through teen through adulthood. And then what happens, right? Saturn return around that 28, 32 year age range. You go through most likely a spiritual awakening. You become born to like the infancy of your spiritual self. And it's there we're having to develop, right? We're having to like make mistakes, to learn things, and it sucks. And I want to speak to an example of like, a situation I had not that long ago where my intuition was telling me something very clearly. And it just felt like this strong, like internal, like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And I knew, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do it. But like what the scenario happened was like everyone put that thing on me that I had to do it. And I could have, I learned now, set more boundaries, say no. No, I adamantly refuse. But it was like, at the time, I was like, well, I don't really know why I'm refusing so much. Like, why am I refusing so much? Is this me? And for me, this was a situation around money, holding the money for an event that I was co-facilitating with other people, which I have done before. And in the past, like my experience hosting events with people has been very positive. Everyone's been respectful about how the money flows and everyone gets paid on time, all this stuff that I was like, well, there's no need for me to feel this sense of like fear or like, like this feeling of like, oh, I shouldn't do it. Anyways, I learned after a few months, I should have just listened to that. No, don't do it. Because the end result was not at all the way I would have liked to have seen it. Yet, in retrospect, what happened was there was a lot of shadow healing and past recognition that needed to happen by two individuals within our group that was around what occurred. I won't really go into all the details with it. It sucked. It taught me a lot about the boundaries, taught me a lot about listening to intuition. And also, though, I just share that because it's like, we can't ever get it 100% right because there's always going to be learnings, whether it's for us, which it usually is, and also for the other people involved. Okay. I guess that's why I kind of want to say that is these are learning opportunities. So please don't throw yourself like under the bus or whatever, like feel really like upset about situations when, well, you can feel whatever you want to feel, but trust that there's a reason you're going through it. Okay. So what practices do I recommend to strengthen intuition? Oh, I love all your questions. I'm going through my little list here to see where it is. Something I put as a question was like, how do I manage the overwhelm when I feel everything all the time? Okay. And some of the things you can do, these practices to balance overwhelm and strengthen, because I think what happens, it like is a two-way street, right? Is that the phrase? Or it's like you do one thing, you're going to get the benefit in both ways. It's going to help with feeling overwhelmed when you pick up on so much energy, but it's also in the long term going to strengthen that like intuitive muscle, that ability to pick up on things. You start to become, and I like how you use the word strength, Tahira, because it's like it is your strength, but really what it is almost is like you become more aware. Before I had my spiritual awakening, I would say I was sensitive, but I wasn't aware. My intuition was strong. I picked up on things, but I didn't know that I was picking up on things because I had no idea what it was. There was no like language or framework, no conceptualization of what intuition was. Sure, I'm like, okay, sometimes maybe I see ghosts or I would see things, but like I didn't really actually know that that's what it was that I was going through until there was like words and language and this framework behind it. So in terms of these strengthening and reducing or managing feelings of overwhelm when we are energy sensitive, I think the main thing is just creating the boundaries, but also it's about like self-care. Like she's sitting in a meditative posture. She is connecting to the three chalices of the body, these 3 points, right? Womb, heart, and crown. Many different cultures have this sort of view of these 3 points being the important place to find balance. But we could also see this as like finding a sense of clarity or cleaning out these spaces, emotions, spiritual, physical, so that we can start to have this sort of like clean slate again, feel like a reconnection to ourselves, to our body, where the intuition kind of is, I guess we could say. So self-care, what does that look like for you? Things I'm learning, it's like working out is a huge part of that. Having a physical, energetic, like intensity where the stress and tension from my body can do its thing and like get worked through or worked out. Because then what happens, I find, is I become more of a clear channel intuitively. Because intuition is being able to also pick up, I think, on like messages from spirit, creative ideas, inspiration, to see those signs that spirit is communicating with your soul. And that requires this like openness. So working on the body, working out, having baths, salt scrubs if you don't have a bath, and then showering it off, intentionally washing your body. That's something I find, like I use different herbs and soaps to help with that, like patchouli, lemongrass, I find really great. Things like that, whatever feels like it's calling to you. And I will literally, especially my throat, when I'm in the shower, I like really wash these places. Mostly it's like along my center line, but I feel like that's, and then also backs of knees and soles of my feet. Sometimes like really the palms, but these are areas that I find really need to be cleansed for myself to open up like the channel to receive the information physically. And that's, I think maybe because I feel energy, like sensations in my body, whether it's heat or cold or tingling. I also just get to, like, messages through knowing rather than hearing or seeing. But that's just something I want to say with that. I've talked multiple times around reducing overwhelm, and to me, it also strengthens intuition. Is working with like magic circles. So creating a magical circle is a boundary. Doing the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram. I have a video about that if you want to learn about how to do it. That's something that can help cleanse your space, right? And LBRB can open us to like the messages of spirit more, but messages that sometimes it can be intense to like pick up on. So finding a balance there, not overdoing it. Some people like to use crystals, amulets. You could charge something that you own and carry it with you if you really want to like bring some more groundedness or balance, or even if you want to strengthen your intuition. Today is the new moon, right? In Gemini, we're going to be hosting a ritual for the members tonight at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I'm speaking that because during these periods of ritual and ceremony, you can create whatever intention you want. Maybe it is to deepen your intuition. Maybe it's to strengthen that and to really tap into the way that you know things internally so that you can trust that and make the steps forward. Find opportunities like the new moon ritual we'll host today as a community, or do it on your own, right? Just set that as your intention. I really do think, there's different stones you can use, but I'm like feeling like, because this boundary card came up, maybe there's like the need for black obsidian, black tourmaline, anything that's a bit darker to create a bit of that sense of boundary and protection, because that's going to help kind of deflect anything that's a little too intense. That could be your intention in there too, along with boosting intuition. You may want a few different stones. Maybe you want amethyst. Maybe you want some clear quartz or something like that too. I kind of leave it to you, obviously. Trust your intuition. What's showing up? Maybe you're dreaming about certain herbs or certain crystals or stones or whatever. Maybe you've imagined like a particular type of talisman that you need to just draw onto paper and charge it during a moon cycle and just tap into that energy. Let that be ways in which you can support yourself with any overwhelm, or ways you can strengthen your intuition. Something else I wrote here around managing overwhelm when you feel everything all the time is to find balance between that hermiting mode and the recharging mode. So one thing I found, we talk about this often, Paul and I, is like, okay, it's like, we just like had a weekend where we both were doing things with people and family and, showing up, and the energy that came from that. And I want to share this story, I feel, because this might apply to some of the other things you're thinking. I see there's questions here. Thank you, tech intern. I'll hopefully get to your question as well. Oh, Meredith, I see your question too. Okay. But this story, I guess I wanted to share, maybe this is something that's happened to you. But it was over the weekend, I was visiting my sister. We went to like Walmart, and people were in line before going through the checkout with like the staff. The staff was just quiet, didn't say anything. She was checking people through. And then when it got up to like my turn to like check my stuff through, pay, so I can make those cakes, by the way. This woman that was the like worker staff there, just like spewing like things about her family, her life, just like everything on me. I say that on me because I was literally like, I just said, hello, like, how are you today? And then she just started divulging all this information. And it wasn't like negative information, I just kind of like, like smiled and like, yeah, okay, being mindful of what I was taking on. And especially for me and many of you probably, if you're intuitive, the need to fix people, right? Especially when we're going to talk a bit, hopefully, about codependency, but that energy. Anyways, so then I like paid for my stuff. My sister went through to like do her order, and the woman didn't say a word. And I was just like, I really realized that. And over the weekend, I mentioned my partner also went through some stuff, and he shared how some people he engaged with were just like putting things out there, and he had just listened to their life. And I was like, man, like we've talked about being that energy in the world before. We notice that when we go places, especially together, like the things that people tell us, oh my God. So this might be something that you go through. What I've learned is like, it's important to just recognize that you have that ability, and that in a way you are a healer, you are a space holder, but this is where the boundaries come through so importantly. And you might be picking up on people's energy. You might get downloads of like things. That's, for me, that's the knowing part. It's like all of a sudden I'll just know things about this person. And it's like, hey, how do you balance that in a world where you have to be around people, right? So this balance of hermiting, we both spent last night just kind of like in our own space, and then let's not like overdo it. I'm not going to cook anything because it's just like, okay, I need to find ways to bring it back to myself, to care for myself, and to wash away the things that like maybe did land on me and attached energetically, because you are more than the physical body. You are this energetic being. So things like that middle pillar exercise, which I also have a video about, where you create this like cosmic, you're balancing the chakra points, or the center sephira of the tree of life in your body, almost like brightening them, cleansing them, aligning them to the ground and to spirit, but then also creating this like cosmic egg of energy protection around 360 degrees. Maybe we'll do this at the end. We'll see what time looks like here today, you guys. But creating and balancing that can be such a helpful thing to do as well. It's a simple tool, visualization. It uses the vibrations of the God names if you so feel like called to do that as well. But I think that's so important, because otherwise we can continually take on people's stuff. I worked in mental health. Okay. I think, yeah, that was your question, Meredith. Like I worked in mental health. So I can just tell you, as a psych nurse, holy fuck, like, and I went through some crazy stuff. I worked with police, okay, like really intense stuff. And I can't tell you how much of it was tapped into those clients' intuition and ability to pick stuff up, my ability to like know what was going on for them and pick up stuff that was going on for them, not just with their mental health or their physical wellness, but like spiritual stuff, energetic stuff, entity stuff, like things beyond the veil. All of this is very much tied, I would say, and it requires such a degree of knowing when to take time for self and not just continually put yourself out there. And for me as a psych nurse, I did that constantly. Like that was just how, as a caregiver, if you're a mother, a caregiver, stay-at-home parent, you're caring for whomever, if you're like a health professional, you probably do this a lot. If you're an intuitive, and you are because you're here, and you work in any other field, you might notice the people around you that you work with are like dumping things on you. We can't stop it, and see yourself as this like light. Okay, you're this lighthouse. That's why they call it a light worker. You're meant to transmute people's energy, or you just do it naturally. And it gets to a point where you can do it without having to attach it to yourself. That to me is the development of being able to receive people's words or stories or their energy, but not know that it's not about you and has no need for you to carry it. Because when we're carrying it, that's when we start to have more of these and this is another question I had. What are the signs of like leaky energetic boundaries or over attachment? It could be like just overly tired, feeling really drained. I want to say like not dreaming, honestly, for some reason. Like that's a huge thing. I feel like you're so drained that you can't even do the dream time dreaming, like sleep time dreaming. Maybe you get sick a lot, right? Like your body's kind of like needing to like cleanse things out or like just recharge. So you get sick because it's like, hey, you haven't found the time to balance or take care of yourself. Emotional ups and downs, things like this can be, a huge part. I think for me, A reason why I've kind of like stepped away from a lot of one-on-one healing work is like I was picking up on people's stuff so much, so much. Like the last medicine journey I did with someone, I developed that horrible, horrible respiratory illness where I was supposed to go and do this journey. And I was like, man, I don't think I can do this. Like, I'm so sick. I'm like, I'm coughing. I can't stop coughing. Like, but I feel like I could draw the energy to do this. And I kind of feel like this is actually not mine. And when I had the conversation with that client, they shared stuff about how coughing and upper respiratory illness was like a ancestral thing for their like family line, their blood lineage. And that was interesting to me. And like after the journey, because I did it, I was fine during the journey, like for the most part. But after that, it lifted, it cleared. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, so we carry things, okay? Which I might get back to around how do you set boundaries around this? How do you, not feel drained? I'm going to go through some of your questions first and some of the comments here, because I see there's a lot. Ah, la, 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 la. Okay, Tahira, sometimes I feel like I have that knowing, but then it doesn't happen or work out that way, and then I'm confused. Was it my intuition, or was I just hoping it went that way? Yeah. Well, it's like, is it up here in the mind or is it down in the body? So really just inviting you to hear it, to like bring it down into the womb, hand on womb, imagining light there, breathing into it. And like, I want to invite you to ask yourself the question of like, what does working out mean? When it doesn't happen or it doesn't work out, like kind of like what I shared in that story with those people is like, it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Like I lost a friendship because of that. Well, if I would call it a friendship, I don't know. Maybe I couldn't even call it that. But what the other friendship that was really truly there displayed so much teaching for me and solidified even more, I would say, even in the midst of like a lot of embarrassment and having to overcome like whatever the case was. And there was learning for me, but also most importantly for those people who were re-triggered after an event that had happened to them around hosting events and money and all this stuff that I didn't even know about. So it's like, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but it worked out the way it needed to. Kind of like what we say in medicine journeys is like, we get what the plant feels we need, not what we want. Like, that's why sometimes plant medicine journeys are just like, it goes a little intense. We can be thrown off for like years. It's not like it's just like one and done and then the next day and then we're back to it. It's like, no, sometimes this stuff can really kick us off our feet, our intuition. We can beat ourselves up. And I think it's because we get into a loop. The mind gets into the loop. So bringing it down. Tahira, I don't know if you ever did the like womb activation in the membership. I think that was during the, I think it's there. Oh, it's somewhere. I think it's in the community membership. It's kind of like tied to that divine wealth nature. I would definitely recommend tuning into that and doing daily practice with womb. Okay. Meredith, what do you think about the link between boundaries, intuition, and mental illness? Any books or theories? Any books? I can't think of any books right off the bat, Meredith, around mental health and boundaries or intuition. But to me, what kind of like led to my interest when I was working as a psych nurse, kind of going through my own spiritual awakening, that's when I started really tapping into like the idea of spiritual emergence. So I went on and did some studying with a group. They're called Integrative Mental Health for You, imhu.org. Emma Bragdon and them, Stanislav Grof, like all these people kind of have this view around mental health being tied to like the spiritual aspect. This isn't necessarily around boundaries and intuition, but it is from the sense of like when you go through a spiritual awakening or emergence or emergency, it tends to be that the abilities to sense are opened. And I would say that's what happened to me when I went through my spiritual emergence. That's why I somehow came across these folks. Took some of their courses, went and did training in like Boston, all like, because to me it was like I just became completely open to what was going on in the world around me, feeling, sensing, seeing, hearing things that like I had never really been so aware of. And at that time, I was working with people, taking them to hospital, and I remember assessing a client. And this is where it really hit me, was like this client we went to go see them. They're like the family, everyone's saying they're seeing angels, they're da, 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 da. They need to go to hospital, right? It would be my job to work with my police partner and determine, does this person go to hospital against their will or not? Or can we figure out another alternative, which is the ideal, obviously? And I just remember this person talking about what they were going through. And I was like, that's what I'm experiencing. Holy shit. Who am I to say this person needs to go and be admitted to a hospital? Like I should be in a hospital, but here I am still functioning, doing my job, still pretty articulate. Like there's different degrees of severity of mental health issues, of when someone maybe needs to have an admission, when maybe they need to have a little bit more support, say for medication. Sometimes that could happen, I think, especially at the beginning of awakening or spiritual emergence. And I feel like this might tie to your question, tech intern. So I'm going to just jump to that and read. Mom, I am having sleepless nights. I'm a college student that got many pressure of academics, parents, and everything. What can I do? Thank you for sharing that. Whew, I know what that's the energy I was in during my first, like, what I would say it was a dark night of the soul. A depression, was feeling the pressure. I was in university needing to like focus on studies, but I was feeling a call to go elsewhere, and I went into like a very dark time. But I wanted to jump to that from Meredith's question, because that idea of the no sleep, the sleepless nights, like, and I'm not speaking this on you, tech intern, not at all. I feel like sleepless nights are like us being in spirit's energy so we can receive insights, because that's usually what happens, especially like 3, 4 in the morning, that time. Ugh, when you just really want to sleep. But spirit wakes us and like can be sharing things, right? But the reason I say that is sometimes with some people that sleepless night turns into, or sleepless hours turns into sleepless night, turns into sleepless nights, weeks, months. And that can lead to some severe mental health, like decompensation, right? Mania, within like bipolar disorder, things like that. This is not me assessing or diagnosing or whatever to anyone. I'm just speaking that can sometimes happen, and it's important that we find balance, and medication might help with that. Medication might help us get some sleep, right? Medication helped me get out of the depression I was in during that time in university, to finally kind of like see things clearly, because the physical body could be cared for. That might be the level of self-care someone needs. And yet medication can also kind of dim down some things, which again, that's not a bad thing, because if it's so loud, the input coming forward from spirit, right? Or the internal nudges of like you're into being like, you need to heal this thing, it's showing up. You went through a sexual trauma, like, and you keep trying to like suppress it. Like, and it doesn't feel like the right time. Though I think if it's coming up there, that kind of is spirit saying it's time now. You need to really be honest with yourself. What are your priorities? What are your commitments? What do you need to let go of? Where do you need to set boundaries so that you can find that place of balance again with your sleep, with your eating, with your wellness, right? And trusting that everything that happens for a reason. So I hope that answers those questions. It's kind of just where I'm going with it. I want to add to that, because we're talking mental illness, substance use, drug use, that a lot of times, to me, especially, I've mentioned it before, people using like meth, their crown chakra was like blasted open. I could tell you, as soon as I walked into a room with someone who was high on meth, I could feel it. The person would be saying, no, I don't use, but it's like, you see the physical signs. right? Or you know the history, but I personally could feel this open. So imagine this vortex of energy at your crown, just streaming information in from everywhere and everything, all dimensions, all beings. Imagine what that would be like when you can't sleep on top of it because you're using like that, right? Things like that. Like that is intense. So being mindful self-care wise, what are you putting into your body that are intoxicants? Because all that stuff helps us tap into our body more, but has like an impact as well. You know, you can't really shut it off. So anyways, what does having strong boundaries mean to you on a spiritual level? How do you set those boundaries and enforce them with someone you love? Okay, thank you, Tahira, for that. So I'm going to just look here because I wanted to talk about this question of why do I feel drained after being around certain people or places? So I was like, when I wrote that question down or my response, I was kind of thinking back to my experience with a true energy vampire. I don't know, those of you, if you've seen the show, what's it called? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What We Do in the Shadows. It's about vampires, right? Like blood-sucking vampires. But if you know the show, there's a lovely little vampire, Colin Robinson, who's an energy vampire. His like goal, he can go out in the day technically, but like he needs to be around people to take their energy. And different like episodes show him going through like instigating people. Like at one point he gets this like corporate job. So kind of the joke, I guess, is here's someone in a corporate position and he will like annoy people with just doing ridiculous things or having really boring conversations so that he can drain their energy. And I just want to speak that there are actually people that do this. When I was in university, I met someone who was this person, and I did not realize that this is what they are until like one day I just remembered like I think it was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna get to the story, but like something happened and I woke up in the morning being like, what the fuck was that? Like, what, did that person really like do what they did and did not like respect this physical boundary I'd created? And I was like, why do I feel drained? Every time then this person would show up, I started to recognize this pattern of like me feeling energetically like tired, out of it, like really out of it. And I was like, this person is an energy vampire. So these people exist. You might know one. Just saying that right off the bat. It's not a judgment. What it is us learning to set those boundaries. I mentioned these boundaries, you know, and you asked to hear, I think, about spiritual boundaries. To me, the energetic boundary is both physical and spiritual. The lesser banishing of the ritual, lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, creating that image of like the cosmic egg or magic circle around your aura, that's going to impact your spiritual level and your physical level. Because the way the auric fields work, or these energetic fields, these 7 subtle bodies around your physical body, they are like, they're all linked. They're energetically linked between. So you know, as above, so below. You impact one, the physical, you're going to impact the spiritual, and vice versa. Okay? So think about it like that. I gotta just go back up here and see the rest of your question. What does having a strong boundary mean? To me, a strong spiritual boundary, or when I really know it's impacting on the spiritual level, is like the entities or energies spiritually are not so, don't bombard as much, right? So I'm, you know, in terms of that energy vampire of a physical person, because I think 2 entities could be spiritual vampires. But if I were to think about being, you know, in a situation and then feeling drained, and if it was like an entity or some other thing beyond the physical eyes, I could really, I guess I would just really recognize, how am I feeling in this moment? And even just now as I'm speaking this, I'm like getting like dissociated which is interesting. So whoever's showing up here and feeling that sense of like not really being present here, we're just going to ask, like, first off, whose energy is that? Is it yours? If it's yours, it's going to feel like, oh yeah, it's mine. If it's not, then, you know, an access will say, return it to sender and go back from whence you came. We can do the clearing statement, good, bad, right, wrong, pod, poc, all 100 shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. And we could also check if it's an entity. So we would just simply ask, like, who are you? Do you know that you don't have a body? And who are you? And who are you before that? And who were you before that? Who were you before that? Who were you before that? And who would you like to be in the future? Will you take all your magnetic imprinting and go? Good, bad, right, wrong, pod, poc, all 100 shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So I don't know why that had to happen. It was like, literally, it just felt like this, woo, like separateness. But oftentimes it's not ours. When we're around energy vampires, when we're around people who attach or have attached, you know, we can do things to clear that energy. But another thing Access Consciousness teaches, which I've been like kind of practicing with certain people that I have no choice, I feel like, to really be around, at least at this point in my life, is to really like channel and do these energy pulls, they call them, where I'm like sucking energy from all of the universe around me and like just pushing it to that person, like just like, because that's what they want. They want energy. They can't feel like they don't have the ability to get it themselves. So that's why they take it from us. But then we think we're these finite, limited energy beings when we're in fact infinite beings. We can connect to the infinity of the world, the universe, and beyond. So if we can be that and just, it's like we like overcharge that person and then they will get like, okay, I'm done. So that's a way to like consciously, I think, create boundaries on an energetic or spiritual level, especially with someone that you love, which is kind of your question, you know, because like I said, sometimes you just have to be around those people, family. It's not always, we don't always have the ability to like not be around people. Again, and I think this isn't about completely hermiting and cutting everyone out, because I'm not going to develop and learn, but just checking, what is that? And then really being clear when you enter into a space, what's your intention with that person? You know, every time I go visit certain people, I'll be like, okay, this bubble, this protection, nothing can penetrate it. You can imagine things trying to penetrate it and just like bouncing off your auric field, things like that. Okay. Whoo, yeah, you're welcome, Delilah. Thanks for being here. I see you. It's like being a great big antenna. I love that. That's what it is. Yes, I'd pick up on things, but I didn't know what it was. I'd also pick up on other people's energy and think it's mine, usually creating a story to fit what I was feeling because I didn't understand the feeling. So yes, I like that to hear, just like us again being like, hey, who does this belong to? I like wake up and I'm feeling like tired or I'm feeling like depressed, whatever it might be. I just recognize like, hey, is this really mine? No, return to sender. I return it to sender. Go back to where you came from. Doing things like energetic cord cuttings, you know, all this stuff can really help you to reclaim your power after giving too much of your energy away in any situation. After a while, as a nurse, I would like start doing that after my shifts. I would just like literally imagine anywhere in my auric field, if I sensed that there was like a hook or connection, I would just like sever it. And I tried to do that after every session with a client or something, because it was just like, people will like do that unconsciously majority of the time. Some people consciously, but majority unconsciously. And they can siphon our energy away. So really important to be aware of that. Tech intern, sleepless nights. Yeah, I think I answered that. I feel like for the most part, just really be honest with yourself. Where is this pressure coming from? Whose expectations are you trying to live up to? And you may have to upset some people by choosing something different. For me at the time, what it was when I was going through that depression was like, I didn't really want to be in school. Like, I was like talking with a lot of people in Europe through like online chat things and like just meeting people from all over the world. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to just go and do what a lot of these folks are doing. Like, that's what I felt like. That would be more exciting to me than learning, you know? And I just wanted to like leave university for a year and go work somewhere else and just have experience. But my parents were like, no, study. And I was like, oh, I feel like I have to do that. But like in retrospect, if I had the consciousness I had now and the like courage, I would have been like, nope, I'm doing this. You know, school will always be there. School will always be there. We never know what opportunities want to show up for us. But we have to really trust ourselves, listen to ourselves. And if the body is having issues with the areas, like that's just a sign of something communicating. So, yeah. Hello, Kenya. Why I'm suffering with lots of neck and headache pain. Well, you know, the main question I want to ask is like, how's your physical world situation kind of being? Are you at like a desk and like a computer or doing things like this or having lots of like a particular type of like tense energy held in your body all the time? What exercises or physical movement can you bring in to support that? But if we were to think from an energetic like chakra point and what the chakra, the neck, throat, this area, the spirit communication, headaches, like a tension of the crown chakra, third eye chakra, maybe there's something there that's wanting to like move down or move up from this point of almost like a bridge. So just inviting you, Kenya, to just tune into what that might be for you and asking the angels to support you with having the courage to see and witness whatever that might be. Because the body keeps the score. You know, many times people have gone through traumas at the lower part of their body, and it's like they like block off the messages from passing through to this conscious place, right? So whatever that might mean for you, just trusting it'll clear. You might get like sinusy things. I don't know. Thank you, angels, Archangel Raphael, for your healing. And calling to your ancestors to support with opening, like I'm seeing the back of the knees and the chakra points there to bring like a sense of groundedness and assuredness for you, okay? And to bring a sense of healing. The knowledge and awareness and the healing. I don't know if it's shoulders too, but it's almost like I'm feeling this like, the weight of the world being carried on your shoulders. You know, the tension of all that, like the tension of being a caregiver, the tension of having to hold everyone else's stuff and it getting like clogged. So whatever that might mean for you, Kenya, just holding you up. Hi, Deb. Nice to see you here. Hi, Marie. Hello. She can do all things possible. Hello. Okay, question from Golden Lily. Do you have any recommendations for spiritual retreats? Okay, well, this kind of ties into one of my questions, actually, which is, how does unhealed codependency affect your intuition? If we think about what codependency is, this is going to be a roundabout way to answer your question, Golden Lily, but I'll get there. This might be almost our last question too. We'll see. I might have one more. Okay. In codependency is when we like feel like we have to do things for others and we have this like link of like trying to fix people. That's how I would identify it. And we're dependent on them to feel a sense of worth by fixing their problems, etc. Many intuitive, empaths, sensitive people, this is kind of how they operate. And to me, when we walk around the world with this codependency, like it really impacts our intuition because we're picking up on everyone's stuff without boundaries. And we're feeling like in order to feel good ourselves, we need everyone else to feel good, because we can like feel people's depression, their like pain in their physical body, even like depends on how you pick up. You know, like I said, I'll pick up on physical stuff sometimes for people. And I used to like think that I had to completely not feel people's stuff. But what I started to come to realize is it's not about not feeling. It's like the feeling is really, it is a gift. It's a superpower. But it's like with a codependent nature, it's easy for me to want to fix people. Oh my God, you have that pain and you feel so sad. I don't want to feel sad, so let me fix it. But what has helped me, and what some ways you can go to like check out developing, I guess, is building this sense of equanimity, of acceptance, radical acceptance. All the things that seem really shitty that people are feeling, can you just be okay with it? And to me, one huge benefit would be like oh my God, what's it called? It's left my mind now. The silent meditation retreats. Those retreats are a great way for you to develop your meditation and your ability to sit with what is. What else do I want to say about that? So it's a free 10-day meditation retreat. Vipassana, that's what it's called, Vipassana meditation. And it's just like, it's kind of within the Buddhist meditation stream, but that's going to teach you how to be with all sorts of things. It's going to tap into your intuition, because you're going to learn to accept the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, however you want to identify it. And the most beautiful thing about it is it's a free meditation. It's a free retreat. It's all over the world. You can donate at the end if you feel like you have the finances to do so. They feed you, they house you for 10 days. It's a long commitment. It's an intense commitment. But to me, that is like a very, very potent way to tune into it. Besides that, though, Golden Lily, I don't really have any other spiritual retreats necessarily that I would recommend. I haven't really been to any like international ones. I would say maybe if that's something that interests you, put it out there again. Like I started off, right? What intuitive kind of like path is awakening for you? You might start dreaming about things. I just saw a little flash there. So maybe that's something for someone. You might just start picking up on a sense of like a certain area in the world, and then just follow it. You know, I tell people, like, if you're getting like intuitive hits of like, oh yeah, I'm really feeling like this thing. What I do is I just literally will like, okay, I'm starting thinking about this like particular topic. I'll start researching about it. You know, I might just go to the bookstore and look there. I come across a book there, or then it leads to this thing when after I read a page from the book, it like takes me to this other place. Like this to me is intuition. This is synchronicity. This is trusting the path and the process. But oh my God, how come I can't say it? What's it called again? Vipassana meditation. Maybe I should put it in the chat. Vipassana meditation. I found it helpful in so many ways. So many ways that perhaps it can be of support for some of you. And also healing this codependency that can impact your intuition. Parts work, shadow work, things like that. You know, shadow work retreats happen. I haven't been to like a weekend retreat, but I've done shadow work, like carpet training and carpet facilitation. And that's been really, really beneficial. To embrace the parts that want to fix things, or the fear of intuition, which is a huge one too, which we didn't even talk about. Holy smokes. So the next question I had was, can sensitivity be rebalanced so it becomes empowering instead of exhausting? And I wrote here, I think that yes, it can. Reframing your mind, which like Vipassana does great. These kind of equanimous practices of meditation can help you with. They help you to see the world from a new lens. And something that I've learned is that it can help develop the muscle of intuition and part of me that is growing from infancy to maturity. And this, like I said at the beginning, involves failing. It involves making mistakes, having to pick yourself up again. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do it. And this is just all about learning. This is about us evolving as humans. That's why we're here. So wherever you are with your intuitive journey, I guess the question I want to end with for you is, how do you stay open-hearted while staying grounded in your truth? And that could just be a simple question you ask yourself. How do I stay open-hearted while staying grounded in my truth? You don't have to answer the question. Just trust as you go through your day-to-day, Spirit will show you. How can you be in this open-hearted place? Oh my gosh, you guys. I didn't even go through all the questions. I went through basically none of the questions I wrote down except the ones I talked about. But that's okay. Maybe we'll revisit this another time. Let's end with one more card, and then I'm going to go. Sweet Delilah, I'm glad that you have a Vipassana. Yes, thank you guys for your questions, for your involvement here. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I will do my best to get back to them just through like a response or maybe a video. Well, we have two. I've never pulled these cards. Maybe Finding I've seen, but I don't think I've seen the other one. Oh, it's backwards. Let me go like this. Finding answers. Trust that you are that being that knows the answers because they're inside of you. The All-Father, Almighty Father, Odin, that energy of the wisdom is within you. Trust it and know that you are a beautiful being that can heal your energetic field, that can be balanced in your energetic field, and know the things that need to be known. So how else can intuition help you find your answers, trust your path, and be open-hearted? So thank you everyone for being here. I hope this was beneficial for you. Tonight, I said, we have our new moon in the community portal. So for those of you interested in tuning into that live, you can join in or catch the replay. You have to go to my YouTube channel, like homepage, and hit join. Or actually, I think the join button might be somewhere on this page that you're watching with the video. What is it? It's like $4.99 to join for a month. You get card pulls every week, lots of other content coming up. But most importantly, this new moon ritual tonight, where we're going to tap into self-love, soulmates, and opening kind of this twin flame energy. So I hope to see you there. And in June, I'll be starting at the Practicus level for members, a monthly energy healing. So if you want to access that second tier membership, you can do so. There'll also be some little nuggets shared for those of you in the Zelator tier 1 membership. So don't feel like you're missing out. Just trust your intuition, do what feels right for you. And yeah, I'm really grateful for wherever you are, however you're tuning in, and however much you're contributing to the energy of this channel and to that medicine, I guess, that we're kind of growing together here. But yeah, appreciate you. Share this video with anyone you think might need to hear the words, who maybe is feeling the call to boost their intuition. And yeah, I'll see you guys in another video. So until then, bye.